A triple dog
Like
undare
triple
you.
dog dare you.
All right, there it is. I got a green light.
Yeah.
I
I
should.
had to
Woo.
I had to actually look up a dyke because they have no, they have hijacked the word so much that in my head I thought a dike is still a wall, right? Like a dam. And so I had to look it up because I was like, the fuck? They hijack these words and make it mean so many other things now. Um, this is for Aeon. I want him to see this.
Oh, it's not showing up.
Oh, no, I don't
Oh,
want that
there it
guy's
is.
permission.
Okay,
I
fuck it.
want to see this.
Here we go. We're live again.
I think we're live on Lauren's too, right?
Yeah, we are live on
Let's
Lawrence.
just be live everywhere.
I'm gonna edit this. What shall I call it? Josh's after party. It's not a Conwick show, so I gotta retitle this.
Okay.
I'm gonna call it late night.
All right. You see this,
With
Aeon?
cigarette now.
It
Late night
says,
after chat is the best. That's what I'm calling it.
you see in the scripture, it says, now this I say that every one of you saith, I am of Paul, and I of Apollos, and I of Cephas, and I of Christ. Okay, so
Are you
if
on
we go,
Bible Hub?
well, yeah, I'm over looking at
That's
the
my
scripture.
favorite.
Okay,
I
so
got
now,
Bible Hub on speed dial. Bible Hub is the shit.
okay, so you know Ophiuchus, right? In the is related to ask. I can't ever say
Asclepius.
yeah,
No, that's
Asclepius.
As,
Okay,
yeah,
so
Asclepiades. That's
okay,
the
so
well. That's the Greek pronunciation there.
okay, so these two are linked. Ophiuchus
And
and
Asclepius.
what? Yeah, I can't say it. I literally get.
Asclepius.
I know. I just get tongue twisted. I just have a problem with it. Um.
that
So
that
now
spelling is
this
Greek.
now this is also the son of Apollo,
Mhm.
right? Okay.
Mhm.
So in the Bible, Cephas comes by way of Apollo, right? I am of Paul, and I am of Apollo, and I am of Cephas, and I am of Cephas, and I am of Christ. I have Christ.
So
Okay,
so Apollo is
so
Paul and Paul is
wait.
Saul.
No, hold on. You
Go
gotta let
ahead.
me. You gotta let me get through this.
Go ahead. I'm just adding.
Okay,
I'm just trying to add.
okay. So up here in the north, we have Cephas, just with a different spelling, right?
Yep.
You see him up here? Okay,
Yep.
so and we know he's the North Star at one point in our history, right? We know he was the North Star. You know that, right?
Yes.
Okay, all right. So this guy, Cephas, is up in the north, and then we have this other guy, Cephas, in the Bible. And this Cephas here says he is of Apollo, and I of Cephas, and I of Christ.
That's not a
And
coincidence at all.
then the guy with the weird name that I can't pronounce also
Ophiuchus.
says is also the son of Apollo. So if Cephas comes by way of Christ and Apollo and all this, and then he is the son of Apollo, okay? Now, wait. So here's what's really wild. Do you know when they tell us that the Bible stories are of the sun going through the zodiac? I'm getting a whole different picture when I open up my mind and I start closing out what everybody else is telling me and I just look at what they say. And then I go back to the images. So once I have the Father in the north and I have the sun coming in the east gate and I got the ghost going out the west gate and I have those markers I then look and I see I have the Milky Way forming the Ouroboros around that gate,
Now,
that specific gate. Now,
I-
go back.
wait. Remind everybody, you're looking at your Stellarium program, and you can adjust the location where on Earth you are looking at the stars. So, remind everybody, you're
Oh,
looking from
shit.
Israel, right?
No, right now I am looking from New York, but even if I go to Israel, Cephas sits high in the north. So if
Okay.
I go, but so we can do it. You will go to Jerusalem and do the same. But it's important what I'm going to show you guys, because I'm not making any claims. I'm literally just showing you what is right in front of our face. Okay.
Right.
All right. So Cephas in the Bible says he comes by way of Apollo. So we know that the Father that sits in the highest on the throne in the north was our guiding star, our North Star. Now we know Apollo's sun rises in the east so that the ghost sets in the west. And then when they're at those gates, the Ouroboros circles us, but go back to the fucking Ouroboros. Get rid of the sidereal zodiac out of our heads for a little bit and start to go back to the Milky Way and the Ouroboros and start to really realize we have the magic wand, the spire of the unicorn through the rose window, Notre Dame, okay, the spire and the rose window. All right. We have our God star, the one. We have the crucifixion. We have the centurion stabbing the beast in the ribs. We have the Judas. Have the sun rises again. We have the angels. We have the Father in the high, and we have the Jesus cross with the body Christ with Cygnus, all on the Ouroboros. This is on the Ouroboros, this story.
Yeah, they all fall in the line.
Yeah, and so we have our and we know that Christ, and for anybody who doubts what I'm saying about this, the magic wand part and stuff, the 12 Christ magic wand sculptures of the old days. So we're gonna go back to the old images. Okay, so if we go back to the really old images, the Christ with his wand. So the Notre Dame and the rose window, the spire and the rose window, to see through the rose window and the magic wand in the spire. So right here is the rose nebula, the rose window in the spire, and the magic wand, and then the shepherd.
Mhm.
And then back to the father, and then to the mother who has the star child, because they were all witnessing supernovas or something going off in Cassiopeia, where they were witnessing a bright star in the sky during the day. Okay. So during the day, there was another star, something up in the sky that they were seeing, and it has happened a couple of times in history from this region. So how is it, without me saying anything, and I'm only looking at the actual text, the words, how come Cephas tells us these things of Apollo and the Christ and the Cephas? How come there is a Cephas? How come he's sitting up in the north? How come then the other character, the sun, is the son of Apollo? Why is he in the east? Then why is the ghost setting in the west? Why is it the Ouroboros? And why does the story of Christ go along the Ouroboros?
Because it's a metaphor for astrotheology.
There's some
Bing.
serious shit that they have lied to us about, a lot of these mythologies, man. And then people got us
It all
fetching
adds
after
up
the
to a big spiral down to black hole.
well, our galaxy with our spiral arms going to the heart of the galaxy. But yeah, the it's literally playing right along it. the story is playing along that Ouroboros. So they've got us going sidereal. They've got us going through the astrology of the 12 signs. Yeah, that's for the calendar.
Can I take
What
us
is this for?
can I take us into the conspiracy world before you leave this page? Don't
Yeah.
just hold still where you are, because at the very bottom of the screen is the ship, the great ship
Yeah.
known as Argos,
Argo. No,
which
Noah's
is
Ark.
Noah's Ark. It's also
Yeah.
Argos, which is Jason and the Argonauts.
Argonauts. Yes.
Now, if you remember, in 1967, the siege at was it the Iranian embassy, the embassy, there was it was a big deal. The terrorists.
What year?
I think it was 1967, if I'm not mistaken.
Okay, go ahead.
And then later on, the Israelis went in and freed the. Please, somebody help me out here. I'm screwing this up.
No, the Iranian hostages was 1979. And
70.
it was Bill Casey, who would later become Reagan's CIA director, and George H.W. Bush, who
And
paid
Terry.
off the Iranians with promises of
Bill
weapons.
Casey, really? William Casey?
Yeah, this is that's the Iranian hostage crisis. Yep.
And Terry
And
was
Fuck,
one
I
of them,
talked
wasn't
about
he?
William Casey tonight. Okay, so
Yeah.
Testify about Iran Contra.
so the reason. Thank you. The reason I brought this all up was because they made a movie about it, and they with Ben Affleck, and they called the name of the movie, and the name was Operation Argos.
Yeah. Well, everything they do is to this, though. Everything they
That's
do.
kind of the
Okay,
point
so
I was trying to
now-
make, is everything that they do is according to
Okay,
this.
so now, when they were doing the secret window, this is really trippy. Go back and look at Sea Lion's video, on their very last video, where they understand the sync. Okay, Jake gets it, and so Jake puts together the Emma Watson, the Notre Dame, the Phoenix, the Secret of the Phoenix Society, and all this other shit, where the Phoenix are always lying low and they're this secret society. And check this shit out. In this video, it's so crazy. Once you're onto it, you're onto it. Okay, so we want the Phoenix, right? Now, the Phoenix is always hiding in the dark for us. Hold on.
And thank you, Gandalf. I think what I was thinking of was the 6-Day War or something, but I got my fucking timestamps all screwed up. But yeah, 1967, the Iran hostage.
All right.
Thank you, Gandalf.
1979.
Yeah,
79.
Thank
And they
you.
also took hostage another reporter named Terry, and he was from this area, and my family knew him. And when I first came here, when I was really young, there was all these freaking yellow ribbons tied around the trees, the oak trees, for these hostages to come back. But he was a Marine, and I think he was a Marine and then became a reporter or whatever. I don't trust any of it, but anyways, my family does actually know him. So you see the Phoenix?
Yep.
Okay, so the Phoenix is always hidden down here in this area, all right? So check this out. The Order of the Phoenix, Emma Watson, who was born on April 15th, okay? And she's in Beauty and the Beast, and the Beast looks at her and says to her if she wants to go to Notre Dame, and this is an April 15th girl, and they took down the spire on the April 15th.
No way. You're going to do this to me again?
Okay, so, but here's the thing. She also talks about the Order of the Phoenix, all right? This secret society. And when the Phoenix finally is revealed is when the rose window and the spire are rising. You get it?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Wow.
Yeah, so this person who's doing the syncs, they get the sings. They get it. They fucking understand. And it's literally like, this is when the dog, the god star, this is when the phoenix is revealed, and then the phoenix is gone right away as the rest stays revealed.
Wow. And it's only for that short time.
And that's only for that short time. Yep. And in the meantime, the one will be trying to get to the table in John Wick. And the table is Mensa right here.
Well, I don't know
He
if you've
can
seen
never
the
get
whole
to
By
Harry.
the way, this is
I don't know if you-
Solarium, the project you're using, right?
Yeah,
The software.
yeah, and it's
Yeah.
free. It's free, Gandalf. By the way, it's free. It's amazing software. But I don't know if you're familiar. I don't know if you've seen the whole Harry Potter series, but they have an Order of the Phoenix episode.
Well, that's what I'm trying to tell you. In Sea Lion's sync video, the very last video that he put up, I thought Sea Lion might be a girl, but the way they're talking in the chat, it looks like it's Jake himself. Now, if that's
Jake is Jack.
Jake is Jake. I think it's Jake Coetzee.
No, I'm just saying the name Jake.
Oh,
Jake is Jack. Jack jumped
Okay,
over the
well-
candlestick. Jack.
Yeah, Jack be nimble, Jack be quick.
Jack and the Beanstalk. Jack. Jack is a super integral part of this. The name Jack. Jack.
But
Oh yeah, go ahead.
But if you, I get so confused because it's so much information. So what he's showing you, Rufus, is that in the sync up of Notre Dame and the spire and the unicorn and everything is the sync up of the phoenix. Because remember what they announced to us the day or right before the spire comes down and the rose window is we're seeing through the rose window. Remember that it's at that time that they tell us that they find the black hole. Remember? And they are claiming, oh yeah, we finally have an image of a black hole. And when you look at it, it looks like a ring of fire. It's just a fucking orange ring of fire, right? And then you go and look at the exact place that they say that they claim that that's found in, and they say it's in Messier 87, which is known as the smoking gun.
Yeah.
Right? It's like fucking, it's insane. When somebody's onto this, when they do it, it's just there. It's not an accident. It's not an accident that the Phoenix is, when the Phoenix is fully revealed, is when the spire in the rose window is to be seen through. You know, and then
Yeah.
it's fucking crazy. It's crazy that the whole Ouroboros, when Cephas, the father, is in the highest north and the sun is rising in the east and the ghost is going in the west, that at the bottom is Argo and then the cross. And then you follow the Ouroboros around and it literally follows this whole cycle of this Christ character. And then Cephas tells you he comes by way of Apollo and Paul and Christ. And then Christ, the Christ character, he's part of the Ouroboros, so he goes by way of them too, and they go by way of him.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so there.
And these are their stories, those who watch the sky.
Yeah, these are their stories, and this is their language, and this is their code, and they will come and they will try to tell you that this is not true, this is not so, but you can just show it over and over and over again. Therefore, that's a pattern, that's detective work, that's just the way it is.
Here. That's
Right.
I
So
mean,
the elites are
when-
a bunch of superstitious cranks who want to play God.
Basically. Yeah. And they use our stars against us. But interestingly enough, a lot of this stuff follows suit to seasons and everything else too, the way that the stories flow and the characters that they did give us. And like when there's the spider god and all this other stuff, and that's down by Scorpio and all this, that's when the spiders do tend to come into the house and get ready. And like there's these weird things that are happening in the heavens that are in fact part of our cycle here too.
One of the things to understand is that it was an oral tradition, so they had to come up with all these stories
Yes.
to like help people memorize it. And then at some point, due to subversion, people took the metaphors literally.
Yeah. Yeah. And then
You
and
know,
then
I was
used it as
watching
a
a thing from
controlling
Graham
thing.
Hancock today, and he was talking about megalithic sites and ancient sites around the world, from India to Mesopotamia to South America to Middle America, and he kept saying the same phrase about how they structured their ancient sites and cities and megalithic structures, where on certain days, particularly the solstice or the equinox, where the sun would rise or set directly above or below this particular spire that was created in stone structures. And he kept saying this phrase, it's a marriage between heaven and earth. He kept saying that phrase, marriage between heaven and earth, marriage
Yeah,
between
the
heaven and
spire.
earth. So on this particular day, the sun, in like Mohenjo-Daro in India, their sun would rise above the main spire. If you stood here on the solstice or the equinox and you looked and on the east, right above sunrise, boom, the sun would rise right above the spire, and it would be at the very pinnacle of the spire. And so it would be the marriage of heaven and earth, the marriage of heaven and earth. He kept saying that phrase, and then ultimately he said, you know, as above, so below. So, and I know that, you know, that Graham Hancock is not ignorant of the phrase or the ideology or the creed, but this phrase, as above, so below, this marriage of heaven and earth, is not, certainly it's not new. This is the stuff that Influence talks about all day long. She's like the expert on this panel.
And I'm not even an expert. I'm
No,
literally
compared
trying
to
to
the
get
rest
my
of us, I
filler.
mean, seriously, you're way ahead of the rest of us. But this is you and I are on the same track. You're way ahead of me. This is exactly what is going on. Whoever is running this world is doing it on ancient tradition, and the tradition is tracking the sun, the stars, the moon, the planets, and this is exactly the narrative that's being played out. And
Yeah,
it's
because
being
that's
played.
how they can share the information too. Like that's their clock. Like they can be like there's no way I should be able to say to Andrew, "Oh, Andrew, they're going to take a spire down in Paris under the unicorn." Like I should not be able to fucking tell somebody that.
Right.
You know? It's ridiculous. And then people will go, "Oh, yeah, you're just crazy." Okay. That's okay. Just
What do
keep
you
fucking
think?
thinking that.
What do you think that the
I'm so concerned
okay
about the
no what do you
go
think
ahead.
the phoenix represents? That's where I was going.
Well,
'Cause you're talking about the
I don't
dragonfire.
know what it represents, but here's the thing. In the coding of this Phoenix society, and we have all these shields, okay? So we have these different societies on our planet where they put a phoenix on their shield. We have uh societies where they're putting the Judah, the lion on the shield, or the virgin, or the scales. Um, they they have the unicorn. They have all of these things on their shields. And then here we have them like an allegiance to certain ones, and based on where they are in the sky is almost like based on that society. So look at, I'm just speculating, you guys. Listen, I'm just going with my gut with what I'm seeing. What I'm seeing is like with some societies, they're out in the open, just like in the stars. So Judah and Virgo and the scales and the scorpion, all this is all like the stuff that is the visible groups. Okay. And but then There's the hidden stars, the ones that we barely see that sit on the horizon, the phoenix, the table, the mensa, like John Wick trying to get to the table. Well, what's the table? Well, most people don't know the table. Well, it's mostly in the darkness for the northern hemisphere. So there's all these hidden ones, and it seems like that's what they then represent. Then you have the highest of the high with the Father, where everything's in the light for the north, right? It's all right there, it's in the open. But then his opposer, the anti, the Satan, is on the opposite side in the south, that's always in the darkness with the monsters and the beasts and the vampires and the werewolves and the
Uh-huh.
and
Zombies.
the
Everything that
yeah.
Influence is saying is 100% well known among the people who create our media, in
Right.
particular Hollywood, because and
Those who are telling the stories
the
like
people who are
Disney.
perpetuating this mythology, this ancient knowledge of the celestial bodies and motions of the stars. It's retold story after story, tale after tale, movie after movie. It's literally in our faces. It's in cartoons. It's in video games. It's literally
Music.
in. It's in commercials. It's in music, and most visibly, it's in the movies, especially lately with all of the Marvel comics, all the superhero movies of tales of heroes and legends and
Mm.
villains.
Mm-hmm.
Okay,
What?
Yeah, so like look at let me show you
and
Scarlett
I've even
Johansson.
got a clip, because I'm preparing to make a video on this thing about Mars. I've talked to Influence about this, but I've got a clip from I think from the superhero movie, the Superman. It's the Legion. It's what is it? The Justice League movie. Okay, where Batman resurrects Superman. Okay, so Superman is dead from the previous movie. They resurrect him. They bring him back to life. Superman is of course the Jesus character because he's 33,
Yep.
gets
Yep.
his power from the sun, all that stuff.
Is he 33 for real?
Yes, yeah, for real.
Wow.
And so they resurrect Superman in the Justice League movie that was just produced not long ago. And
Mm-hmm.
at the end of that movie, Superman's girlfriend, Lois Lane, played by the red-haired character, forget her real name, um, she's a reporter. So at the very end of the movie, she gets the last scene and she's typing up the story, and you hear her inner dialogue. She talks to herself as she's typing, and she says, "All you have to do is look in the stars." All you have to
Yeah.
do is look up at the stars. And I've heard that fucking phrase. I'm a big movie buff. I've heard that phrase so many damn times watching so many movies. And they tell you this. All you have to do is look at the sky, look at the stars. And they tell you and tell you and tell you that this is where the fucking narrative comes from.
Yep.
So
Ding 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 ding.
so check this out. This is just the corny stuff, okay? This is just stupid corny stuff, but it just is what it is, all right? So I'm watching the movie oh my god, the Marvel movie, the freaking Avengers, right? And as soon as they introduce us to Scarlett Johansson, all right?
Black Widow.
Yeah, so as soon as we see Scarlett Johansson, the Black Widow, this is what we get introduced to. So we've got her chained to
In
a
the
chair,
in the mirror.
reflected in the mirror with twin
The two
twin
guns.
guns
Oh,
with the Mary and the sun, okay? So when we go to the star chart and we go to Andromeda, who is chained on one side of the horizon, across the horizon is the twins in the middle, and
Castor and
then
Pollux.
Mary with the sun. Okay, so in the scene, they give us her now. If you doubt it, here is Black Widow chained, the guns, the Mary, the Jesus. Now watch this. You put them across from on the horizon, and you know now that you've literally got a time on the clock. So now check this out: Black Widow, Andromeda. Black Widow, Mass Effect. The Black Widow is part of Andromeda. It's the black. It literally. Hold on. No, we don't want the Black Window. How? Why is it saying window? Black Widow Nebula. Would we call it that? In Andromeda. I mean, probably. Okay, Black Widow Nebula hides in the dust. This is in Andromeda. I don't know why they're not just putting it there because that's where it is.
Because that would be
The
too
Black
easy.
Widow. Yeah, the Black Widow is part of Andromeda. So how come we have a character in the movie named Black Widow? She's chained to the chair just like Andromeda is chained. And across the scene through the mirror, now remember who her mother is. So her mother is Cassiopeia, and her mother is up here with her with the mirror, okay? Because her mom was bragging about her daughter's beauty, and her daughter gets chained, right, by the father. So the king, Cephas, and Cassiopeia, he chains Andromeda, and then directly across the horizon. Now, how could I possibly know that about the Black Widow being part of Andromeda, and how can I know that that alignment's going to be there just from that picture? You can, once you realize that that's what they're actually showing you is this stuff. You'll start to really figure out that it goes usually horizon to horizon, or it'll go in the arc, and this is their famous arc. This is like the one they really love, is like this. Hold on, sorry, I should just go by an hour. Okay, so when Sagittarius and his bow is coming up and the twins are going down, and the Christ and the Eve and the Judah are ruling in the center with the beast, and the Father is up high, they love this arc. They just love it. It's like the big part of the movies and everything. And then
With the moon at her feet.
yeah,
Just
I
like
just
in
want to
Revelation 12.
yeah, that's on that date. Okay, so I just want to show you guys the most beautiful alignment. So if I ever die, and you guys are alive, you won't be able to see this with your naked eye, but I'm telling you, this is going to be one of the most beautiful alignments in all of history. Okay? And it just so happens to be at the end of the world if we go with the Leo Virgo. And she has the moon at her feet. It's going to be on 9/11 in 2040. And she's going to have a diamond of all the planets with her, of Jupiter, Saturn, Mercury,
No way.
Venus, and Mars,
There,
all with
look
her,
at the
Wow.
planets
with
right
the
on her
moon.
arm.
Yeah, with the moon at her feet, with the sun on 9/11 in 2040.
Wow.
And
You
we're
just
not,
sent chills up my spine.
yeah, that's like one of the most beautiful alignments ever. And the thing is
False
that
flag warning.
we won't even get to see it with our fucking naked eyes, and that sucks. Because it's just amazing. So if anything really big happens, like in my mind, this, I know it sounds crazy, but I feel like this could be that type of event where that's the Terminator bullshit that you see hitting LA and bullshit kind of thing, like the big stuff. Like I almost feel like they're preparing for this huge ritual for
And look where the sun is. It's directly between the Virgo and Leo,
yeah,
which is exactly the beginning and the end
yeah,
on the Egyptian. The Sphinx is
the
a
Sphinx,
woman and a lion, and that's where the Egyptians begin and end
right.
their calendar. As the beginning and the ending is between Virgo and Leo.
Right. And then once, because when you connect each of the 12 signs to their 3 decan signs, their 3 decan constellations that go with each of the 12, and then you go 1 plus 2 plus 3 plus 4 plus 5, and you get through them all, it equals 666.
Papow.
Papow. And then when they tell you things like the man who rules all nations with the iron rod, well, they do, because they go the stars go all the way around the whole planet. So these characters will rule all nations. You know, well, except for maybe Australia. no, listen. They get the zodiac too, but they don't get our father. Like, I hate
No.
to say our father, but they don't. Like, they don't get him.
Well, on a flat Earth, they do.
Yeah, but they don't ever see him, so clearly they don't get him. And you know what we don't get? We don't get the cross in North America. So figure that out. For us here, we don't get to see the whole Southern Cross. So in Australia, they get their Southern Cross, their opposer in the South, and in the North, as the Father is up high in
So
the North.
the tip of the cross is on the horizon.
Yeah, the tip of the cross is on the horizon, and is the cross is the penis of the centaur where he stabs the beast. I mean, how do you have a cross, a centaur, and the stabbing of the beast and the rising all right here happening, opposing the Father in the North? Unless they're making it, they're doing it. It's their stories. And I think that this is even part of
Could
why.
you zoom in on that a little bit more?
Yeah. And
Go up a little bit. There you go.
oh yeah, like
Perfect.
people are gonna say, and here's the thing, they're gonna be like, oh, the planets are in all sorts of signs, like all of the planets can be over in Scorpio at some time. It's like, yes, however, with the moon at her feet and the sun and Jupiter, instead of the sun being born of her and on her shawl in her arms, the Jupiter will now be the Christ at her arm, being nuzzled up in that position. So this is huge. Star religion wise, that's huge. I can
Agenda
see
2040.
Yeah, I can see why they're making certain moves for the human conscience, and where they're going to try to push us from the one Christ story to the next story, because they really only have another. If you go by the way that they do it, if they did that with Mithra, Moses, and everything else, then it really does appear that if they're going to get people ready for the time of Aquarius, they have about another 100 years. That's not a long time.
I think that's sort of assuming it's just been the same people in control the whole time, and I don't really think that's the case.
Not the whole time, but I definitely think that if for some reason, if Cephas is a constellation that is part of Ptolemy of the 2nd century and part of the original 48, and he comes out of Ethiopia, this is an Ethiopian king and queen, then to have this in the scripture and to know that Ethiopia has this huge connection to these people that now call themselves Jews, but the Hebrews, then it's pretty interesting to know that supposedly all these Hebrews and this big Hebrew culture comes out of Ethiopia too. And then the king and the father in the highest is an Ethiopian one. And this is part of our Western culture and this internal battle that they've made as part of the whole story of the allegorical story of the stars that has now become this religion. And then they use that. And it's interesting that it is the Hebrews yet again. And the
Yeah.
Ethiopian thing.
The world is run by a bunch of people who worship an African volcano god.
Yeah, there's all different ones for sure. But for me, Jen, I really want people to start to look at their scripture and actually, when it's telling them about the stars, I'd like them to actually pull out their star chart. And if they really believe in their scripture, then they should actually read it and use it, and then start to realize that that's what a lot of these characters are up here. Now, they
Well,
can
how are they
argue.
supposed to use it if it's just a metaphor?
What do you mean?
How are they supposed to use it exactly?
One, why argue over all these imaginary dots in the sky? For one.
Well, I
Why do
agree
we
with
have
you
to-
there.
Yeah. So it's more about exposing how the system's used against us. I'm not saying, I still believe that there could be a force that makes all of this be what it is. All right. But no matter, even if it is a force and all of this was innocent and these were astronomers sharing the stories and then somebody converted it to this, and this, right now it's being used to commit crimes against us, and they signify events to each other through films using this clock, and they use all these characters, and all of this programming is all to this, and it's literally part of their criminal language. And
Well,
Well, sure. I mean, there is. You
even though
can be part of
even though we
religion
recognize that
without
even though
worshiping these people.
even though that we recognize that correlation is not causation, we can at least recognize that there is a definite correlation.
an
I
extreme
think it's pretty
correlation.
safe to say that this is pretty safe assumption in terms of what has been going on for the last 2,000 years.
Yeah, so I'm really in my heart, I feel like it needs to be exposed. And a lot of people stop at one-eyed symbolism, and like they keep it with just these sigils, just this earth-based, and then they argue over this beast is this nation and this is this, and it's like, well, okay, if you're gonna say that this beast is with this nation, then let us bring up where they can view the stars from that nation and what they've correlated themselves to, and what they could see as far as where one constellation rose and what's set from each land, because it is true that even the nations have been set up in relation to this stuff also.
Uh-huh.
So we have to take that into consideration, but it's like an actual full network, and that's what's crazy. Like,
Yeah.
I thought of the internet, like I thought the internet was like the Skynet, but I'm starting to think Skynet has a whole different fucking meaning to these people.
No kidding, right?
Yeah.
The really creepy part is the more you look at this, the more you realize that there's more and more and more and more correlation. It just starts piling on top of itself. And
yeah,
and then you have to remember that, well, okay, the world is run by psychopaths, and this group of psychopaths, there's this weird conspiracy that says that, okay, they have these bloodlines that go back to ancient times. So now we have this idea that, okay, whoever's running the world has some sort of secret, ancient, esoteric knowledge. So, okay, the people running the world today are from a group of people who have had this knowledge for millennia, and so they're doing things, they're operating today in accordance to the stuff that's happening in the sky. So now we actually have a correlation causation effect. Do you know what I mean? Because the people running the world today are doing things on time scales like
Time scales.
like
Yes.
like 9/11, like 7/7, like these time scales. They're doing things, they're creating events, and they're changing society in a way on time scales, on specific dates. They're creating events in memory and history on specific days and dates that are correlating directly to exactly what Influence is talking about, which is the sky, which is as above, so below, the marriage of heaven and earth.
Yeah, and they enjoy it because they like doing their little magic games. I believe it. I
I
believe that they're. I
I
believe that
believe it too. They do enjoy it.
Yeah, because I think, and I can't say this enough, but I think those two movies, Now You See Me, the magician movies with Woody Harrelson and all them, where they specifically say, "We are magicians. We serve the eye. And when we need to be disappeared or anything for our good service, we will be taken care of." And when they say it right in front of a Harry Houdini poster who was a Jewish magician spy.
Yeah, they want
And
us to. They want us peasants to see them as gods who know everything
yes,
about the stars, even though they didn't even derive this knowledge in the first place. They stole it from
right. It
others.
was
That's right.
handed it down.
Right.
Yes, it's a constant handing down and a reimagination.
They didn't imagine it. They fucking stole it.
Yeah.
Pretty much, and subverted it, and yep.
Hey, Rufus.
Yeah, James.
You were talking about Superman and everything. You know what else it references, don't you?
I know all kinds of things that it references. What are you talking about?
Well, the origin of Superman is Moses.
Really?
Off of Moses. If you look at both stories side by side, you'll get the connection.
Well, I know that Apollo and Moses and Samson and Hercules, that they're all solar deities. I understand this. Okay, so maybe there's a connection with Moses because Moses was the quote unquote solar deity during the ruling time of Aries, the constellation Aries. So let me see. We just entered into Aquarius. We just came out of Pisces. Aries came before that. So we're talking 2160. So that would be 4,320 years ago.
Well, we're not even really out of Pisces yet. We're not truly in the Aquarius age. We're still pretty
Are you
deep
sure?
in
Because
Pisces. Yeah.
2012 was supposed to be the day that the clock clicked over from Pisces from Pisces
Well,
to
if we
Air
go by
to
if
to
if we go
Aquarius.
by the position of the sun at the spring equinox, it's still clearly well within Pisces.
Well, I
It looks
thought
Yeah, the
like it's
dates
almost
aren't exact. There's a lot of different estimates for when these things
yeah.
actually transition.
Yeah. Well, Pisces is a very wide sign too.
okay.
So
Well, each sign is two.
2,160 years, right?
Pardon me. Two, yeah, 2,160 years, which is queer, which is really queer and weird and creepy because 2,160 years, the number 2160, is exactly the diameter of our fucking moon. So, is that a coincidence? That's creepy and weird coincidence if it is
Is
a
that true?
coincidence. Yeah. Yeah, the diameter of our moon is 2160. I can even go further. The diameter of the sun is 864,000 miles. That's the diameter of the sun. And what's significant about that is one half of that, which is the radius of the sun, is 432. That 432 is the A note. On any musician, any guitar player should understand 432 as the A note, because the standard A note is 440, which was changed in the 1500s, I think, where it was standardized. But Mozart and Beethoven, they used 432, which is the frequency, or 432 hertz, as opposed to 440 for the A note, which is how they tune their instruments. So 432 is, and if you know anything about cymatics, I could go on and on for hours on this, on these numbers
Yeah,
and
yeah.
cymatics, and how it all these numbers work together, and how the moon and the sun, the proportions of a human being to the earth, to the sun, to the moon, and how they all correlate. I could speak for hours on this shit. This is no
Interesting.
fucking joke, and the coincidences just go on. The mind boggles.
Right. So at some point, if we came back full circle, that's when I always say it is what it is. That's just what it is, man. You know?
Yeah.
Well, see,
Hmm.
it's just like when Influence mentioned about the table. My mind goes to Metallica when they did their album with Lou Reed, and in a song, James Hetfield repeats, "I am the table," and everybody who
Hmm.
heard the song was sitting there going, "Why the hell is he saying I'm the table? What the fuck is this shit?" And nobody could figure it out, and everybody's just like, "Man, what type of garbage?" And most people just panned the album and said it was, nothing but crap. And now the influences mention that, it's like I'm putting two and two together, and maybe it's making more sense
Mm-hmm.
after all.
Well, and what does Jesus do too? He turns the
Table.
table over. Yeah. Of the money lenders. And that's down near the altar of God, Ara. And it's just so freaky, all of it. It's but I'm just accepting it for what it is, what I'm seeing. I don't know what it leads to.
It means that a bunch of Ethiopian volcano worshippers run the world. Doesn't mean anything other.
Well, that's pretty funny. Or the Luciferians or whoever they are.
If I had to guess what was going to happen on December 21st, 2040, when all those planets line up like that,
Oh no,
and
that's
there's like,
9/11. That's
or
9/11
9/11. Okay.
2040. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. 2040.
Yep.
And you said like the start over point was between
Yeah.
the girl and the, well, I don't
Well,
remember
the
what it
start
was.
the string.
Lion.
Don't forget that 9/11 is right when the sun is in the center, or the crux of the analema.
Okay.
Well, if
Well,
you
I'm gonna
start the
say,
analema there, yeah.
I'm gonna guess that there's gonna be a pole shift. That's what I think is gonna happen.
Okay, well, if we're putting bets, I would say that's when the sun goes micronova.
Oh, really?
Yeah, that's something that's actually in our geological history.
I'm putting it as
Hmm.
they're gonna do like one of their biggest magic tricks ever on that day. And it's gonna be one of the huge life altering experiences on our planet because of their bullshit magic
I mean, think
and
about it.
whatever they're pulling off.
2040 is not that far off.
No.
Right.
So, what have we done in the last 20 or 30 years? We have dug our asses off. If anybody's been paying any kind of attention to like rabbit holes in conspiracy world, then you've heard of underground bases. This is a
Right.
real thing. This is not a conspiracy. This is
Mm-hmm.
a very, 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 very real thing. And they've been digging and digging and digging, and they've been digging their asses off since the 1950s. And the
Yeah.
technology has gotten better and better, and we've gotten more and
Mm-hmm.
more and more diggers. And guess what? We have a world under our feet that is nearly, if not exactly, the size of the world above ground. It's enormous. The world underground is so fucking vast. If you just do the logistical math and figure out how long have we been digging, what's the technology, how much has it improved, and how long have we been doing it,
Mm-hmm.
and how fast we can dig with the new technology, and how long have they been doing that, add it all up, add that to the existing natural caves, and add that to the caves that people have dug for centuries and fucking millennia. Like the cave system in Turkey can house 30,000 people. One cave system in Turkey.
Mm-hmm.
Natural, excuse me, not natural, but man-made caves. They dug a system, I forget the name of the place, the location, but in Turkey, people have dug underground to the tune of the size of a thing that can comfortably house 30,000 people by hand in ancient times. So what have we done since then? Oh, I don't
Yeah,
know.
they know they're gonna get caught and they
Yeah.
want to hide out, but they can't fucking hide. So they're still trying, but it's not going to work.
Well, it's not a matter
Yeah.
of hiding. It's a matter of creating a system underground that's going to survive the cataclysm that we're near to face. And that's most likely according
Which
to
you
the
think is a micronova, is
yes.
what you think.
Yes. And I don't say this off the cuff, and I don't say this out of ignorance. There's a whole bunch of science behind this. Yeah. We got a micronova in our very near future. And I think the people who run the world know this. And that's probably why $64 trillion, according to Catherine Austin Fitts and some other people who have been tracking the missing money,
Mm-hmm.
that's where that money is going. It's going to construct, create, build, dig, and stock and house and man underground
Mm.
facilities. Because we got a cataclysm in our future, and it's not that far off. And if you're young enough, you might see it in your lifetime.
Are you talking about the Adam and Eve story?
I doubt that very much.
Okay.
Are you talking about the Adam and Eve story?
No, I'm talking about a micronova in our near future, which is on schedule, according to quite a lot of supporting science to suggest that it's a regular thing. That a cataclysm on Earth is almost like clockwork. And you could pretty
Well, I'm
damn
thinking
near
it
set your
is.
clock
I'm
to it.
thinking it is like pretty much like clockwork. I mean, just like we go by
The
the
only
moon,
way,
mirrors are like clockwork. Everything seems to be like.
and if it's
clockwork.
true, if the science behind this is true, and it's as clockwork as they say, there's only one thing that could be a clockwork cataclysmic event, and that's the sun. It's kind of
It just
hard
seems
to
like more apocalyptic fetishism from the Abrahamic religion.
look. I understand that. I do,
That
Jennifer.
wasn't in the ancient religion. There was none of this apocalypse stuff in the ancient religion. So I'm sorry, I don't buy it.
No, when you say apocalyptic fetish, that I get that. There's a lot of that going around. And believe me, I'm not just buying into the fetish aspect of this. And I don't really have time to spend because it would take me 5 or 6 hours, and it's already almost 3:30 for me right now, a.m.
It's fine. You don't have to. I just wouldn't want to see you, working yourself up for nothing.
Okay, well, I'm just trying to make a point. We are missing trillions of dollars, many trillions of dollars. And we do know that underground bases exist, and our governments have been busy, busy, busy. And those underground boring machines, they don't fucking stop. And what are they doing with the holes that they dig? Well, they're filling them and they're stocking them, and with laboratories and military equipment and seeds and food and machines to run the fucking underground city. Air,
Yeah,
water.
like I said, they want somewhere to hide when everyone says, "Hey, fuck you guys.
Well,
We're gonna take back what's ours," and they want somewhere to hide. I don't know that it actually indicates anything more than
well,
that.
okay, well, then maybe they don't need any more digging, but they keep digging.
Yeah, well, they're fucking crazy, dude. Like, look at how retarded these people are. They're obviously not operating from a very logical vantage point.
But on the other hand, they are operating from a vantage point of supreme power, where they have the smartest brains in the fucking world at their beck and call. And when they say, "Hey, what's going on? Is there any truth to this or that or this or that?" and the real experts, not the YouTube fucking keyboard warrior experts, the real fucking experts will step up and
Rufus,
say,
they don't know that much. They don't know how to predict stellar formation. They don't know how to predict nuclear reactivity.
"I
This
disagree.
is all stuff I know.
I
Yeah,
di-
how do you know if they know this stuff?
I completely disagree with you. I think they absolutely know this shit, and I think there's a lot of fucking secrets being kept."
I just don't really think that they're all that smart, to be honest. I mean, they would have figured this stuff out on their own. They wouldn't have had to steal it, right?
Steal it from who?
The Aryas, obviously, the people who came up with it in the first place, the
The
actual
Aryas?
cosmology.
The
Yes,
Ar-
the Aryas, the ones who had the Veda revealed to them, the ones who came up with all this cosmological knowledge you guys are now just rediscovering. Yeah, and by the way, they did not have white skin. That's another stupid myth. Like, I can tell they're stupid because of the stuff they come up with. They're not enlightened people.
They have gray skin.
No, it would have been like brown skin, probably. Who cares what color their skin was? Like, come on.
Well, I guess I care, because if you're going to make the statement that their skin color was a specific color, I want to know how you know that.
Well, they came from India, so they probably would have had an Indian skin color. So, like, light to medium brown, I guess. I mean, what does it matter?
If you
Doesn't the knowledge matter more?
consider Indian light, because every Indian I've ever met has been dark to nearly black. I don't
There are some
consider
Indians.
Indians light.
There are some Indians born with white skin. It depends on the Indian.
Okay, there's some.
Not every single Indian is an Arya, right? Arya is not a racial quality; it's a quality of the soul.
So you said did you say the knowledge was handed down to the Aryas?
Revealed.
By who?
Who else? The real God.
The real God. So you're not an atheist, you're a theist.
But this God is scientific. So what was revealed to them was scientific knowledge.
No. Well, scientific is not. Are you serious? This God is scientific?
Look at all the knowledge they had.
Well, listen, Rufus. Listen.
Wow.
If you think of it, no, listen. If you think of it in these
I'm not getting any sleep tonight.
If you think of it in the, what if you think of it in terms of, all right, look at something,
No astral dreaming.
something created all of this, and it has this understanding of how things function, right? Is that not like basically of a scientific mind too?
You could say
That's
the
not
Vedas are
being handed down by a God.
You
Well,
could say they're a metaphor for people realizing fundamental physical truths about the universe and then putting it into a story form to make it easier to pass down.
Are you equating scientific endeavor to God?
No.
You said it was handed down to the Aryas, and I asked you by who, and you said
Yeah, it was
you said
revealed.
who else? God.
It was revealed.
It was revealed by
Yeah.
God.
Yeah.
Scientific God.
Scientific God. What's
Yes, the creative
is that
force
different?
of
Is
the
that different from Abrahamic God, the all-powerful, all-knowing
Well,
God
I'm
who gives
pretty
a
sure-
shit
I'm
what
pretty
underwear
sure
I
that-
wear?
I'm pretty sure that God seems a little kooky to me, I'll be honest.
So is scientific God different from the God who cares if I eat shellfish?
Yes, Rufus. I think you already know the answer to that question.
So what is scientific God exactly? Explain to the class, please.
Well, the best way to
Be
understand
obedient.
scientific God is it's the universe.
So the universe handed the knowledge to the Aryans, or whoever you said.
So the universe is everything that we know. Space,
No,
matter, energy.
it's everything, not everything that we know. We can't possibly know everything.
It's everything
but
that we know and all the stuff that we think we don't know.
It's just
And
everything.
more.
It's just
It's everything that exists, basically. We can know things that aren't true, right? We can know things that aren't real. That's not, that's not God. That's just some human fantasy.
Okay, so the universe is everything that we know exists, plus some stuff that might exist that we don't know about.
It's everything that exists, period. We're not really consequential in that equation.
No, I understand that there are things that it probably exist that we have not even discovered actually exists. Because for a long time, we lived on Earth as humans and we were just fine. And then one way we discovered, hey, there are radio waves flying between me and you, and I can't see them, smell them, taste them, or touch them. And yet I can detect them with this machine, and I can use them and prove that they exist by sending you a message. So they must exist, and I still can't see them, smell them, taste them, or touch them. And yet there they are.
And yet, and not only that, then they managed to not only deal with waves that way, but then somebody said, hey, if I just take these ones and zeros and put them in this pattern, we can get this to where we literally now have virtual physics, virtual everything. It's already there now. And it was people teaching code and other people advancing upon
Well,
that code.
think of
Think
ones
about
and
that.
zeros. Think of ones and zeros as on off, because we're talking about electricity. So it's either on or it's off.
Yeah, but we've managed to take this code into
There's
this
time.
black scrying screen, and now we have these entire virtual worlds all
Sure,
created
sure,
where people have these understanding of the vertices and the faces and
sure.
sculpting it all and
But I mean,
then
I could.
creating the physics of it and the wind and everything. Like, think of all the weird shit we can now do in a scrying screen just because we learned some fucking code. What's up with that?
Well, I could mind fuck you even more, and remind you that
Are you trying to mind fuck me?
ones and zeros are merely on and off. So if you think about on, there's electricity. Off, there's no electricity. On, off. At a ridiculous high speed, almost the speed of light. On, off. Switches, on, off. What we're talking about is electricity is traveling, and then there's a period of time where electricity is not traveling. So this is really about time, because it's either traveling or it's not. And there's a time period in between, on, off. And then there's 2 ons and 2 offs. And then there's 3 ons and 2 offs. And then there's 3 ons and a space and 1 off. And then it just switches up from there. So it gets crazy as to the pattern of ons and offs. And there's a time delay between each on and off. You have to have time.
Yeah. And who was able to just go, oh, if I just figure this out, I can make it come through a screen
Right,
to a
exactly.
whole world of other people.
How does all these ons and offs make my computer screen do what it does? How the
Yeah,
fuck does that happen?
right, and then even when they have just the basic code, right? So all of a sudden they have this basic code, but they share it with another human who is able to somehow understand that code, and not only understand the code, go, oh yeah, I can add to that code and I can add this physics now on that scrying screen.
All I gotta do is
Oh, whoa, okay. then they learn it, and then they teach it to another and to another, and then now we're at this.
I should retitle tonight's this stream. I should retitle it "Stoned Late Night Stoned Stream."
But
Yeah.
but it's reality that this is what happened.
We sound like a bunch of stoners going, "Wow, what if
so
this was this
Jennifer-
way?"
No, it's not a
I have
what
something
if.
to say.
This
No.
is
I have
what
something
is
to ask
actually
Jennifer.
happened.
I'm sorry. Go ahead. Who was talking?
I
Charlie.
had something to ask Jennifer. Okay, if
Charlie,
Jen,
go ahead.
whichever you prefer, I don't know, but
No, I'm just trying to figure out. You're kind of quiet. You could bump your mic up if you wanted to, but go ahead.
Is that better?
Yep.
Yeah.
Okay. If her scientific God is everything that we know, that we don't know, that we probably don't want to know, you can't discount the stars and the things that people have read in the stars, because that is part of everything. And that's just the part that is telling a story to all of us who aren't worried about the math, basically. See
I'm
what
not
saying?
discounting it. I'm just putting it into context. I mean, that's where this information comes from in the first place. So obviously it's important, but I'm just trying to put it in context because there's another layer to this where the elites, one of their main methods of control is through something called sigils. So they basically want you to idolize their sigils. And that's what is happening by people, liking these movies and being parts of these religions. They're giving sigil power to the elites. And that's what I'm hoping to get across at some stage.
You
for
know,
people to
needs
stop
to be
seeing their
met.
I'm
energy.
familiar with sigils, and as bizarre as that sounds, I'm totally familiar with sigils. And I know that somebody from the outside is going to hear that language and go, "What the fuck are they talking about?" And I've heard of sigils, and I understand. I've looked into them, and I understand how to create them and how they're supposed to work.
All right. Well, what the hell are they then?
Well,
Oh,
don't
A
you
symbol
use
a
that
this?
have
sigil.
an underlying.
A sigil is when you take basically whatever language you're using, you take a word or phrase and you take all those letters, and all your intention for that entire phrase is then combined into the letters, and you start melding the letters into a symbol. You start layering on top of each other. You get a symbol.
Okay.
Like take the cross, for example. It's
And-
a
Okay.
symbol, but it has a
And
meaning,
then
right?
all of your
There's more
intention
to it.
is placed, is now embedded within that symbol. So when people
Okay.
see that symbol, their energy focuses on that symbol, because I don't know if you've ever heard the phrase, "Where attention goes, energy flows."
Right.
Right.
So
Yeah.
So when you
so
focus
Oh,
on a
I see.
symbol,
Okay. I got you.
so when
Okay.
you
Now go
when
ahead with what y'all are
so
saying.
so
I
when
get
you're
it.
at Britney Spears and she's got a giant fucking pyramid with an all-seeing eye behind her on the stage, or Madonna, or at the football game, or the Olympics
Right.
closing ceremony,
or all the little kids
or
buying massive
or a television
unicorns
commercial.
and all the
Yeah.
unicorn emojis and the clown emojis.
So when you
and
see it, your attention goes there. So somehow,
Right.
some kind of energy must go there.
Yeah, think of it as
Gotcha.
like mass
Gotcha.
hypnosis.
That's magic. That's sigil magic.
yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay.
And here's a group of people who pride themselves not only on the magic, but it has even been used just simple magic during wartime, right? So they convinced people in Italy or something like that that there was all these tanks going through just with the sounds, right? Sounds and lights. And it was literally just they actually did hire a Jew to do this magic. And that's what it's all, this whole thing for them is having that magic, having that power, because most people are fucking clueless to the fact that they're donating all their energy or having it hijacked from them, whether it's everything from all the unicorns in the stores and all the unicorn whatever unicorn thing they want to get them embedded in. That's the magic wand,
Yep.
that unicorn wand,
And
that
that's
fucking
Hollywood.
spire,
And they make
right?
a
And these,
magic wand out
and
of
what did
Hollywood.
these magi's and stuff do? They used to, although they still do, I think, in India and stuff, where they go up on stage, and who performs the raising of the dead magician trick the best? You know, who really entertains the people with the magic of raising the dead and stuff. And then you see the Christ character with his wand, and you understand the magi stuff and the competition, and then you
The
understand
whole
these other
Moses story
people
is
who
about the whole Moses story is
embrace this stuff, and it starts to make a hell of a lot more sense when you look at the Freemasonry, and then you look at the
the
Skull and
whole
Bones, and that they have
yeah.
the Father clock, and that and on every clock it's at 8 o'clock, and all the pictures on the clock with the Skull and Bones, because of the eights, because of the 88 constellations, the 88, and Analema,
The
the
two
moon, and
Analemas, the sun and the moon, and
It's kind of funny
that's
that they drew pictures over the stars. That's almost symbolism. So instead of looking at the stars and
well,
mhm.
you have to, because you can't,
you're watching the symbols that they've
yeah, and
made.
you
So that's a
have,
form of brainwashing right there, just like watching TV, and seeing the symbols.
It's all
Yeah.
about mind control through occult sigils, basically.
yes, yeah. And that's one of the reasons why I look at anagrams and all of that stuff too. I don't get really wrapped up in the numerology, even though I know it's part of the Kabbalah and stuff, and that's part of what they look at. But my brain has a really hard enough time with this, not because it drives me crazy, but it's just the storage capacity.
I know, right?
I'm only talking storage capacity, you
I
know.
know, right? Trying to understand the big picture and get it all
Yeah,
in.
yeah,
It's really tasking on the brain, isn't it?
yeah.
Hmm.
And then there's certain people like I've wanted to confront, like I messaged rabbis, and then the rabbis go, "You need to talk to a Catholic priest." And it's like, you know what? I'll post shit posts on the Pope's Twitter feed. When are you guys gonna just when are you guys just gonna admit you're talking about Jupiter and shit? You know?
That's funny.
Um or I'll try to put things to like Donald Trump and say things like the queen of the harvest would be happy if you would legalize cannabis, and Zeus would too. But I'll put a 4 in there so that it'll read a 42 somehow with Zeus.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Like I try to do my own little sigil magic back in a way
Yeah.
when I get the urge, and I get a chuckle out of it. I'm like, and that's why I'm always saying we got to reclaim this stuff. Is if they get to use it against us all the time, then we remain ignorant. And I don't care if it takes 100 years, from the crazy star lady to a Rufus to a sea lion or a synchromysticism, or what
Right.
Jen's saying, or what conspiracy theorists are saying when they get locked down for some reason, with just they keep it on Earth all the time somehow.
Influence, you've probably heard me ask this question before. Do you think, and I'll ask this to everybody on the panel, everybody answer one at a time. Do you think that with all that's going on, with all the symbols, all the numbers, all the names, places, dates, and by the way, I've seen some unfucking believable correlations, just jaw-dropping correlations. Like, I've read this book by David Flynn. It's called The Temple at the Center of Time, where Israel is associated through distance and time. There's exact correlations between all these major events in world history, like, for instance, when Napoleon invaded Israel, and you take the distance between Israel and France, where Napoleon is from, because he's French, and I forget the date, but It's exactly the same. The distance between here and there is exactly the same as the number of the whatever year it was. It's fucking weird. And it was like in 587 BC the Babylonians conquered the land of Israel. And if you go and look on the map, it's 587 kilometers between Israel and Babylonia, or the center of Babylonia, or the town square, or the
It's not that weird if it's been the same people in charge the whole time.
no,
right?
but I read this fucking book and he went through dozens of examples where major events in world history associate with this fucking location in Israel, not only in distance but in time. That's why it's called the Temple at the Center of Time. The book is called Temple at the Center of Time. And so the correlations are they're fucking jaw dropping, and you can verify every one of them. This is not weird conspiracy stuff. This is just, hey, did you know that this guy invaded Israel and it's 587 miles from here to Israel? And did you know this guy invaded Israel in 1442? And oh, it happens to be 1442 kilometers from Israel to that guy's location. And oh, this guy invaded Israel at 500 BC. Oh, and it just happens to be 500 kilometers from here to be. You know what I mean? It's over and over and over. It's disgusting. It's fucking creepy. It's enough to creep you out.
Well,
And
it's
it's
because you're seeing a repeated pattern over and over again.
it's not repeated pattern. These are facts. So
No, but it is a pattern. It's a pattern of facts, right?
my question to everybody is, with all the gematria and all the creepy shit you've heard of and all the creepy shit I just told you about and everything you've ever fucking seen and all the stuff we're talking about, do you guys think that people are in charge of this shit?
Well, that's
Yeah, I
why
think
I
it's
was
the same
at.
people for the last 2,000 fucking years, dude. And what
Like
you just said,
humans,
true.
do you think humans have the capacity to really do what we're talking about?
Of course.
I think that
Why
humans,
in the
I
hell wouldn't
actually
they?
do. Yeah, I actually do think that humans do have the capacity. However, based on my life and all the strange knowings and coincidences in my life that people would claim are coincidences that I know aren't, um, when Sean asked me the question, knowing what you know with this stuff, do you still believe that there's possibility of a hidden hand? And if you analyze, so if there's a force in mine, I have to acknowledge that there could be a force in theirs. However, I still will not relinquish holding people accountable.
Does anybody else want to pipe up before I give my answer?
No, I'd
I
like to
guess
hear
I'll
your
take a
answer.
shot. Well, it's like
Is
this.
it is it is it people that the question is, do you think people are in charge with all the shit that you know, all the creepy coincidences, numbers, gematria, everything? Are people in charge of what's going on or not?
To
Is it
give that
is
Obviously,
it
simple answer,
is it
No,
I would say
alien?
no.
Is it alien? Is it supernatural or is it people? Is it
I
people
don't
or
think
is it people or not?
No,
no.
You don't think it's people?
no.
No.
What
it's
do you think?
definitely people.
Jennifer
It's
says
people
people.
watching
It's
on.
it's the
Gandalf,
universe
Gandalf,
itself.
is it people or not?
Gandalf's asleep, I think.
Oh, I don't hear him snoring. He's got his mute button on at least.
I think that to a large extent it's people, but that there still is a force. However, I want to hold people to task, not a force.
Fucking A. Charlie, got opinion? People or not?
I do not think that people control every. I mean, are we talking about the whole universe stuff, the star movements
I'm
and all
talking
that?
about all the weird conspiracy shit that we've ever talked about
Everything.
and everything you've ever heard
I
about,
do not
including
think.
gematria and religion
I
and all the politics, the numbers, the names, the places, the dates, the coincidences, everything.
I think that all exists because the universe exists. I think that it's people who translate it and so they know what it means and they know how to control it and so they use it, but itself is not created by people. It's the universe.
Okay, I've got a really interesting stone to throw at everybody, and I want everybody's opinion. Here's my opinion, and I want your opinion on my opinion. I have to set this up, so give me a second. Have you ever seen the movie Good Will Hunting?
Yeah, but it's been a while.
Too
Long
too
time
long to
ago.
remember.
Pretty much everybody understands this. A super duper fucking savant.
Mhm.
A guy who can think above and beyond, 1,000 of us put together. Do you know what I mean? The kind of guy who can, you just like Rain Man, you drop a box of matches and he can tell you there's 97 matches. And you go, oh, there's 3 in the box. It was a box of 100. So kablam! In a half a second, he can count 97 random fucking matches before they can stop settling, bouncing around as they settle on the floor. He already knows before they stop moving. That kind of savant. Except like Good Will Hunting savant, where he's normal and you can talk to him, not like Rain Man. He can have a conversation. He can hold down a job. He can do a task. He can have a life, and you can give him a job, and you can say, "This is what we need you to do. We need you to figure out.
Functional.
We need you to figure out
Idiot.
how America is going to beat Russia in this Cold War." Well, considering the economics of this and the demographics of that, and they got more black people, we got more smart people, and they got more uranium. And oh yeah, don't forget about the fucking geology where they have rare earth metals because they need that to build a fucking nuclear reactor before they can even process uranium. Blah 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 blah. Kaplam! Here's your answer, and their answer is you need to start an advertising campaign, and you need to get young girls to get off of birth control right away. And that's my
Right.
conclusion. My conclusion is if you want to do this task, this is how you operate society. You need your society to be on board with this idea so we can move forward with this project. And then once that's accomplished, we now have the technology to beat the guys that you want to beat in the end. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, I do.
So my question
Well,
to
input
everybody
is
on the
data,
panel.
yeah.
So my question to everybody on the panel. Now you know where my mind is.
Okay.
We have savants in our society. They happen all the time in every country all around the world. 7 billion people. Lots of savants exist.
Wow. I'm
Okay?
shocked that many.
Have you ever heard of one?
Not personally.
That's
I
fucking
mean,
right. Have you ever heard of one? Name one.
I've
Come
only
on, I
seen
got
the
1,
one.
2,
movies and
3,
stuff,
4,
I've only
5,
seen
6,
the
7.
one guy that draws all the windmere or all the buildings in New York.
I got 7 smart people on the panel. Name me. Come on, Jennifer. Name me a fucking savant. Do you know one? You ever heard of one? Is there a savant out there solving the world's fucking problems, making life better for everybody? Where the fuck are they? Ever heard of one? Name me
What's your
one.
definition of a savant?
Good Will Hunting.
Perhaps such a thing doesn't exist.
Can't be possible. That can't be. We know they exist.
Okay, well then, what's your definition of your? No, you're saying something from a movie. I've seen that movie.
No, the movie is an
Okay.
It's a true
example. We all
story.
know they
It's a true
exist.
story.
Right, but what's your definition outside of some random movie of what a savant is?
The character.
I shouldn't even have to define that for you. I think you should understand what I'm talking about.
Well, you're talking to the person who has a scientific model that predicts stellar formation, proves reincarnation, and you're not acknowledging me as a savant. So I'm asking you, what
Okay.
is a savant?
A savant is somebody who can think better, faster than me and you, everyone on this panel times 10. A savant.
Because the computation of knowing it's 97 matches on the ground and the amount of skill it takes to derive something like the unified field model, those are different modes of consciousness.
Okay, well, there are savants
I thought-
that
All right, Jennifer.
can do that math. They can like just whip that out. I mean, stuff that the guy fills a chalkboard full of formulas, and it means something.
Jennifer,
I mean, it took a long time
if
to
you've
it.
seen the movie
That
Good
kind of
Will
savant.
Hunting, you know what I'm talking about. I don't want to get into semantics right now. And even though I love semantics,
Please.
this is not the time. But I think you understand what I'm talking about. A fucking savant. A functioning savant. It's not like you can't possibly convince me that they don't exist with 7 billion people on this planet. We know
And what
savants
I'm
exist.
saying is that the mode of thinking involved in rapid calculation is different than the pattern recognition insight required to develop a physics model that would explain everything. So I'm not
That's
clear
right.
which one I'm talking about.
That's right, Jennifer. And some savants are really good at piano too. Who cares? We have enough
Okay, but
savants to get the
okay, but
job
you're
done.
assuming that there exists some skill set that would solve these problems that aren't even problems because it's
Okay,
been
well,
the
here
same
was the
people in
main
charge for
question
the
was,
last
do you know
2,000
one?
fucking years who control both sides of the war.
What I'm trying
Okay,
to
well, the
tell you,
question was, do you know
They're
a
already
savant,
controlling both
Jen?
sides. Sorry?
Do you know a savant, Jen?
do you know one?
I'm still not clear on the actual
Oh
definition.
my
So
God.
I'm being cited
Okay,
evidence
let me
from a
see.
movie that is a person that doesn't exist, and I'm telling you, computational mathematics does not necessarily scale to other sets of knowledge. So I'm asking you to be more precise with your definition.
I'm going to give you about 5 minutes to fucking calm down because it's 4 o'clock in the morning and I'm not going to do this with you until 5. So, do you understand
savant,
when I say
a learned
fucking
person.
savant, somebody who has abilities, mental abilities, and
Okay,
out
that's
the
a savant.
mathematics, after you figure out that there's 7.5 billion people on this planet, you could realize that, oh, we probably have savants all over the fucking place, and some of them are really good at this, and some are really good at that. And every now
No one else has been able to do. I proved reincarnation. I proved how stars are formed.
and,
How am
and
I not a savant?
you're not a savant because you're sitting here talking to me on my YouTube channel, and you
Yes.
haven't had any of your fucking papers peer reviewed by anybody of note. Who
And I
gives a
didn't
shit?
snatch you up in 5th grade either.
That's why.
Scientists have validated my model. The predictions of my model have already been observed.
Your predictions have been observed doesn't mean they've been validated. Where have they been validated? Where can I go to
That's
see
what
validation?
validation means.
No, observed does not mean validated. No.
Yeah, if you make a model that predicts something's going to happen and then that thing happens, that's a validation of the model. That's the definition.
That kind of makes me think of the star
No.
chart.
Well, you didn't express yourself properly. You said that your model has been observed.
Models can't be observed. Predictions of models can be observed, but not models.
Of course, models can be observed.
So the prediction of your model has been observed. So your prediction has been actually validated. You made a prediction and it's been validated. Is that
It
what you're
depends
saying?
what you mean by validated, right?
What prediction?
Stellar formation.
And who validated it?
Some scientists, an article I sent you.
Okay. So I looked at one of the. You sent me like 3 things, I've read one of them, and pardon me, it's very late, and I have been drinking. So, which one are we talking about here?
I'll put it in the chat right now. You know, it says for the first time. That means they didn't fucking know how to do it beforehand, or they were intentionally not doing it for some stupid fucking reason. But it does say for the first time, and that's a prediction of my model. So
All right.
again, I guess let's just say for the sake of argument, I'm not a savant. What's your point in all this?
Well, hang on.
I'm sorry.
So I'm sorry. Do you sound offended? You consider yourself a savant?
Again, it depends what you mean by savant.
Okay. What is your definition of savant? Because right now I'm having a hard time giving you mine.
I honestly don't really have one. I don't think of things in those terms. So I'm asking you what you mean. You're the one who used the term.
Is there anybody else on the panel who thinks I have not made myself clear? Am I going crazy? Or is Jen
No.
asking the right question and I failed to answer?
She just likes
what you're saying.
She just.
You're saying because some people are really amazing at math computations.
Imagine a child, advanced, a really smart kid. He's 3 years old, and he's just one of those kids. And And I'm not talking about your average parent who says, "Oh, little Jimmy is so smart." I'm talking about a kid who's really fucking smart. Like, have you ever seen the movie Real Genius? You know, that kid who's 15 years old, he's inventing lasers. And I'm not talking about assembling lasers, but creating them, like making them better, more powerful. And he's 15 years old, and they accept him into the, what was it, the MIT and fucking whatever the movie was, California, the super advanced college, 15 years old. I'm talking about kids who are functioning human beings who are not like Rain Man, but real functioning human beings who are just, I don't know how to describe. I don't know, me, my intelligence plus your intelligence plus everybody on the panel plus everyone listening, I don't know, times 10. That kind of smart. Do you think those people don't exist?
Okay, Jen.
Let's say, for the sake of argument, that they exist.
Okay, so now that we've established that those people do occasionally pop up in society. So now we have a child in school who's just so far ahead of everybody, and by the age of 5 or 6 years old, he's recognized by his parents, his teachers, his friends' parents, everyone. Do you think the military wouldn't fucking zero in on that kid right away? The government wouldn't figure out this kid by the time he's 9 years old is going to work for us? Do you think that never happens? Do you think those people never wind up in some underground facility and never see the fucking light of day? Do you think that never happens? You think that's fantasy?
I don't really know if it happens because, as I've said about 10 times, I think that most of
I'm
this
not
stuff
asking
is
you if you
controlled.
know it. I'm not asking you if you know it. Do you think that it might happen? Do you think that it's possible? Is it plausible? Is it reasonable to assume that that probably happens?
I think that's what the gifted and talented programs are kind of for.
Because ultimately you can't answer my question. Name me a fucking savant. Name me one.
I don't know if it's plausible. I haven't thought about it.
Have you ever heard of such a person who was so fucking smart and was out there solving world problems and creating cool inventions? Where the fuck are they?
Obviously, she doesn't know one.
Well, I think I made my point.
Well, the quick answer is yes, they do exist, but as Rufus said, they do get snatched up.
Because
And it's
honestly, where the fuck are they? Where the fuck are they? You can't convince me they don't exist, and yet we never fucking hear of one, and nobody on this panel can name me one. Name me a fucking savant solving world problems right now. Name me a savant who had the best fucking invention, who just invented the most amazing fucking thing ever. Name me one. Who is it? And don't tell me fucking what's his name? Stephen Hawking. Anybody in the chat, I'm not looking at the chat, but if anybody says Stephen Hawking, I'm going to ban you. I'm just kidding.
So a model predicting stellar formation, that's not good enough for you?
I'm going to have to read through this, and it's late. I am not going to do this until 5 o'clock in the morning. I swear to God, I'm not doing it. Actually, this is a short article. I might just read it.
Jen, let's go ahead and just say, for the sake of argument, that you should be included in the definition of a savant. Okay.
For the first time, scientists have observed infant stars being born
Now
in
the
the
question is,
hugely
do you know a
powerful
savant
space.
other than yourself?
No.
Okay. So now we got that established.
What part of this verifies what your model has to, what you did?
The fact that they observed stars being formed in the place that I said they would.
Okay, so now I need something to show before this was posted that you had produced that made that claim. I'm going to need that. The one article talking about what they discovered.
Take my word for it.
Take your word for it? We're done.
Yeah, I gotta go to bed. late.
Take your word for it, Jennifer. I'm gonna go ahead and close down now.
You're gonna close it down.
Yeah. No, I'm not doing that. Yeah, I'm not doing that. But it
Right.
was fun, everybody.
Well, it's on the blog. I'm just, you know,
Okay,
I mean, what's the difference?
I'll tell you
It's
what.
there. I'm
I'm gonna
sure I wrote it.
I'm gonna comb through everything that you sent me. I promise you. I'm gonna do it before the end of this weekend, Saturday, Sunday. I got a little bit of work to do tomorrow, and I got the rest of the weekend off. I absolutely give you my 100% word. I'm gonna comb through everything that you said, and if I can't find anything, you and I will talk, and we'll do it live. In fact, we'll
No,
probably
it's
do we'll
cool. I
probably do
mean,
that anyway.
you had a point about savants, and I wasn't sure what it was, and we could just move on to whatever was coming after that. I mean, more or less indifferent to this, whether you think I'm a savant or not. It's just
Well,
what is so the point is that the government snatches up highly advanced
that-
kids to work for its own purposes.
I'm going
Basically.
to bed, and I'm not. You guys are free. This is not even. I don't think I even started this chat. So if once I leave, you guys can keep going. But I'm going to bed. I
All
mean,
right. Sweet dreams, then.
I hope you understand my
Yeah,
point
good night.
that there are some ridiculously, disgustingly, over the top, unbelievably smart people, and you can't name one. So
Beside yourself.
that, yeah, that's so. I think that's a point worth pondering, and they exist. And where are they? They're working for the enemy. They're working against us. That's where they are, because they do exist, and you can't convince me that they don't. And I can actually prove that they don't, that you can't convince me they don't, simply by the fact that you can't fucking name one, and they do exist.
Well, see, the only thing that I've ever had reference to it was the term star child, and that in itself is kind of like, what the fuck? But, that's what
Right.
they would reference when referencing a, star pupil, blah, 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 you know, savant. That's what I've always, heard. So,
Interesting. A star child.
yep.
I'm out, you guys. Good night.
Have a good night,
Good night.
Rufus.
I could stay, but I have to go.
Yeah, I gotta go too.
See ya.